We'll lead Indiana.
Hi there, greetings and salutations from Hoagies and Hops here at 42nd and Boulevard, Indianapolis, Stillwater as well. My name is Chris Wary. That is Derek Schultz. We would like to begin by saying thank you, as always, to Bailey and Wood, as well as Chateau Kitchens, IU Indy, all of the fabulous sponsors we just mentioned, Hoagies and Hops, Chili Water, that make it possible for us each and every week to talk to you here on Query and Schultz. And Derek, this is exactly what we have known forever. Since the time that we've been doing this show together, we knew it was just a matter of time before we'd be doing a show talking about the Indiana Fighting Football Hoosiers in the national championship game. And here it is, baby. Why not? Why not? Now, Indiana, one win away from – now, I did see – I thought this was the first time ever that someone would go 16-0.
Oh, no, my friend.
Because when Clemson went 15-0, so much was made out of the fact that no one had ever gone 15-0.
Yeah.
Yale went 16-0 in 1894.
They
right?
sure did. Fight the Yale Bulldogs.
And
New
that
Haven,
was,
Connecticut.
That was impressive when you think about the portal back then.
Big time, yeah. They gave up 13 points all year.
Really?
They gave up 13 points all year. I looked it up earlier today. They beat up on, I think, Boston Athletic Club.
Okay.
And a couple of other they beat Lehigh twice.
That was before conference realignment, so it was
they
particularly impressive.
Well, you know what's impressive? They beat Harvard 12-5.
Okay.
I don't know, I guess 4 field goals. And did you have field goals back then in 1894? Or 2 touchdowns, no extra points?
I guess
Did they have
you're
extra
right.
points?
I mean, you wouldn't have gone – no, you go touchdown, field goal, safety.
Okay, and then you also give up a safety?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
1894, man. It's so weird. Modern college football, no one has done it and gone 16-0. And, Jake, I'm going to be careful here because I know people can dig up this footage and clap it back to me. Do you know what this national title game reminds me of? This is just how I'm feeling about it. It's another title game in Indiana/Indianapolis sports history. And this I feel the same exact way that I have this week that I did that week.
Colts and Saints.
No, but close. Colts and Bears.
Okay.
No offense to Miami. I think Miami's actually a really good team. I think they have a great defensive line. They've got NFL players and all of there. This is a coronation of IU. To me, in my eyes, there's no chance they're going to lose this game. They're an 8.5-point favorite. I understand that they're playing in Miami. There very likely is going to be more IU fans there than Miami fans anyway. I just don't know how you stop them right now. By the way, they don't make any mistakes at all, whereas Miami makes mistakes.
I don't know who's running our graphics, but why does it say ho, 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 Hoosiers?
Oh, yeah, we got to be careful about that because I've had other people see that on Facebook.
Does Santa Claus have copyright on
it? It has
to
be 2 O's.
It's who, Hoosiers.
I think we got a bunch of Ball State people in the van. So they might not know. They might not know.
Who, Hoosiers.
Yeah.
Not ho, ho, ho. There we go.
There we go.
Correct. All right, so go ahead. As you were.
It is who, Hoosiers. But everybody's kind of new to this. I think they're going to win. I think they're probably going to win handily. As much as we sort of dissected Alabama's resume and said, well, they didn't belong, blah, blah, blah. You know who did belong? Oregon. And they've got a top 10 NFL draft pick quarterback, and they have an outstanding defense, and they got smacked. IU smacked them. And I just don't see what Miami, outside of maybe playing like a perfect game, and Indiana making a bunch of uncharacteristic mistakes, I don't know how they come through and win.
So I will say this. It comes down to this in terms of Miami, okay? Yes, it is true that Miami this year lost to Louisville and SMU. There are question marks about Miami.
Right?
Understood.
Yeah.
That is an elite-level defense. Now, Indiana has a very good offensive line, and Indiana does a remarkable job. You don't realize it. But what Indiana does really, really well is run well between the tackles, which then sets up Fernando Mendoza to go to his receivers that catch everything. Elijah Surratt is amazing, and Charlie Becker's become amazing, and Omar Cooper is a really good player. But Indiana does a remarkable job of balancing that offense to keep you off kilter a little bit. If you look at Mendoza and the number of throws that he made against Oregon, it was not a high number of throws, but they are very efficient in the way that in his ball placement and everything else. But Miami's front four, Derek, is nasty and physical. This is the most physical team Indiana will face. Miami is the most physical team that Indiana will have faced all year, and in particular on the front four defensively. That's not to say Indiana can't guard against that, right? And then defensively, Indiana, I think, Carson Beck he's like 32 years old now, so he's been around a while, right? Very smart player, but Miami is prone to turnovers, and Indiana's not. Indiana has yet to turn the ball over, knock on wood, in the college football playoff. They've taken care of the football. They've forced four turnovers. Indiana is so disciplined. They just don't make mistakes, and they wait for you to make them. I do think that Miami's defense and their ball control offense has the ability to keep them in the game like they did against Ohio State. I just don't think Indiana makes a mistake at all, and Miami makes one or two, and that's going to be the difference.
Yeah, I mean, keep them in the game, sure. I'm not expecting it to be 56-22 again, or 38-3 again. Yeah, maybe not. I think Miami is probably I would actually put Miami somewhat on par with Oregon. I think they're around the same caliber of team, but I expect the game maybe to be a little bit closer than that just because it's their home crowd or a home field, I guess I should say, and a venue that they're familiar with. And I think there are some advantageous things for Indiana. And I do think that unlike the previous two opponents, they actually have, like you said, the defensive line. They have a matchup group where they can win on paper. You know what I mean? Like there are a lot of teams that have played Indiana. Like there was nothing that Alabama brought to the table, a position group where they were better than IU. And I do think Miami is better, even though Indiana's defensive line, some of its parts is very good. They just don't have, I don't think, the individual, like they don't have a Reuben Bain. You know what I mean?
Right.
That type of level player. But Jake, I just. Maybe I shouldn't feel this way. It just feels like a fait accompli. It feels like this is happening, and there is nothing that is going to stop this. This tour de force that IU has been on, I don't know how you halt that momentum.
Derek, let me tell you my favorite statistics about this game, which I put out on the Expos Twitter, so I'm sure you've seen this, okay? This is the way my brain works, okay?
God. Nobody wants to know about how your brain works.
So Indiana has Fernando Mendoza, their Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, right? He's going to go into the national championship game. He's a native of Miami.
He is.
He's a native of Miami that's going back to Miami, where he's native, of course, to play the national championship game against Miami, which means he's going against a coach who actually played with his father back when they were both playing football back in the day. Now, speaking of coaches, Curt Cignetti is coaching Indiana. Curt Cignetti, of course, his father was a coach. His father coached Indiana to a national championship game. That's Indiana, Pennsylvania. Now, Curt Cignetti goes with Fernando Mendoza. Fernando Mendoza, who is of Cuban descent, by the way, and all of this is made possible in Miami thanks to Mark Cuban, who was born in the same hospital as Curt Cignetti.
Cool.
Any thoughts?
You want to hear my only IU Pennsylvania story? So is that a buddy's?
Let me guess. You dated a girl that went to IU Pennsylvania?
No. I was more into Jersey girls. I dated. No, not. I don't want to get into. I dated. I was at a graduation party in high school for a buddy of mine, and more of a friend of a friend. He was sort of in our friend group, but he went to Fairfield Prep, which was a hoity-toity private school or whatever else, and. I don't know how I was talking to his dad or whatever. His dad was a Little League coach, so we kind of knew each other a little bit from that. I think he coached me one of those years. And he goes, so what are your plans for next year? And I go, I'm going to Indiana University. He's like, oh, that's awesome. So not that far away, right there in Pennsylvania. and I was like, no, dude, like IU, like Indiana University. Like that is the only time in my life that it has ever been mistaken. Like, oh, yeah, IUPA?
Is Indiana, no. I don't even know. Is Indiana, Pennsylvania like a good school?
I have no idea.
It's not a satellite school of Indiana.
The only thing that I can think of is that his son was an athlete, and a lot of my other friends were athletes that went on scholarships. So they went to like Siena and Marist and some of these smaller schools because they were doing athletic scholarships. And maybe he thought just by association, I mean, from looking at me, he must have been able, I did have a nice build and all of that, but from looking at me, he couldn't have necessarily thought that I was going to be a collegiate athlete. And maybe he thought I was going to IUPA or Indiana University, Pennsylvania. I don't even know if they call it IUPA.
What's their athletic IUP? What are they known as?
Oh, I looked it up.
I'm going to guess they're the Eagles.
Pioneers.
Is it really?
I don't know.
Okay, here we go. It's ranked number 329 amongst national universities and the top 178 for top public schools from U.S. News and World Report.
Okay.
Ranks 20th in education, 16th in opportunity. Okay. So
a lot of opportunities out there. What town is it even in?
Indiana.
There's an Indiana, Pennsylvania, a town called Indiana? I don't think that's right.
Yes.
No, I don't think that's right. That's not right.
Yeah,
what town is the campus in?
It's in Indiana, Pennsylvania.
No, there's not a town in Pennsylvania. Jordan, you're from that area. There's not a town in Indiana. There's not a town called Indiana in Pennsylvania, right?
Okay, I'm looking.
He's trying to look it up too.
No, I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah. I want to know where the campus is, and I want to know what their mascot
The campus is in Indiana, Pennsylvania.
No, there's not a town in Pennsylvania called Indiana, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
I would have heard of that.
Indiana University of Pennsylvania, public university in Indiana, Pennsylvania.
Why would they name it that way?
I'm interrupting the show.
Yeah.
There is also a California of Pennsylvania.
I did know that.
And those two schools are in the same league as you were.
Cal, PA, IUPA.
Cal, PA is actually in the ACC of Pennsylvania and Indiana. Now,
okay.
Now, hold on. I'm looking up.
We do have other things to get to
Cal
today.
of Pennsylvania had a famous player that played there, right?
Oh.
Okay, anyway.
I don't know.
Back to
idea.
the game. And in the words of Bob Knight, now, back to the game.
But there was one guy that was like, IUPA, and I was like, no. It stuck with
Thanks
me all
for
these years.
derailing us on this.
I'm
looking up their athletics.
Ticket prices out the wazoo. I saw $3,500 get in the door price, and I think initially people were like, oh, well, Miami's at home, basically. So they're driving up the price, and I'm thinking to myself, no, I think IU fans are the ones that are driving up the price. And now you've got IU fans and Miami fans. They're fighting on social media. They're sending each other empty stadium pics. So Miami fans are sending IU fans empty stadium pics of Memorial Stadium, and then IU fans are sending Miami fans empty pics of their stadium, and they're like fighting about who's the biggest band. I don't really care. Are Indiana fans bandwagon? Sure they are. Every fan base is jumping on the bandwagon. How could you not?
Here's the difference between Indiana and Miami. It's very simple. The Indiana fan base that you see at these games, going to all these games, and Hoosiers and all that, 90% of them went to Indiana University, and 80% of those had no idea until 3 years ago there was a football program. On the other side of it, when you see Miami fans, 90% of those people did not go to Miami, and 80% of those did not know that it was a university until 3 years ago.
I will say
there
this.
You go.
I don't think 90% of IU fans that are at these games went to IU. I think there are far more people that did not go to IU that consider themselves IU fans. Like if you're a Michigan State or a Purdue fan, you went there for the most part.
If you're traveling to the Rose Bowl, you most likely are getting tickets through the Alumni Association because you went to school there.
Well, yeah, it's certainly for the national title game, you're definitely doing that. But I know plenty of non-IU people that are non-IU grads that just grew up IU fans that ended up not only in Pasadena but in the Peach Bowl as well. Now they're not going to Miami, but I do know a select few.
The Crimson Hawks.
Crimson Hawks, okay.
So they got Crimson in it as well.
You think IU's ever gone after them for, like, copyright? I mean, you can't copyright a color. Well, Texas might have with burnt orange.
You know what?
Did Texas copyright burnt orange?
You know what is copyrighted?
What? Yeah, why not Indiana?
Mm-hmm.
Making a little K on that?
I got a cease and desist executed.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so it worked. And,
yeah.
I mean, you have the trademark.
Yes.
It's all legal. So now you just they mail you a check, or how's that work? You don't want to talk about it? You're getting uncomfortable?
But if you are selling T-shirts and/or paraphernalia that says "Why not Indiana," you got to pay.
It is cool, Like I thought about this, especially this week, because we got fired 6 years ago, either tomorrow or Wednesday. I don't remember what. It was sometime in mid-January, and now look at us now. I mean, you're filing for trademarks and making a little cash on that. I've been Schultz Media LLC's just exploding.
Yeah, okay.
Like it's like the Ben Affleck Paul Rudd thing. Like
Ben Affleck,
who would have thought? Look at us now. Not me. Here we are.
What have Ben Affleck and Paul Rudd?
The GIF. You know what I'm talking about? No. Okay.
We know what you're talking
Yeah, it's a pretty famous one that's in there.
It's a GIF, isn't it?
The creator of GIF wanted to call them GIFs, so I'm going by what the creator
doesn't
said.
It stand for graphic and something?
But it's called a GIF.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like
Isn't this a great show? We're talking about IUPA and GIF. We're doing a really
now,
outstanding
let's
job
talk
here.
about this when it comes to football, Derek. And I say this 90% flippantly, but I do think it's a little bit interesting. Indiana has been so precise defensively, notably. They have been so just completely prepared and well-coached. And I'm actually waiting, and I'm being serious when I say this. I'm waiting for this to be unearthed. I've noticed lately on social media that there are certain, I don't know whether it's certain words or certain replies or certain accounts that reply that then trigger like the bot farms. Yeah, and all of a sudden, boom, time. It's off and running. It's off and running. And I've had it's annoying. I've had it happen with two of my posts in the last couple of weeks. One of the posts that I made was during the Alabama game. In the Rose Bowl, during the Alabama-Indiana game, Alabama had a 4th and 1 and tried to run basically a trick play. And Indiana, immediately sniffed it out and extinguished it. And I sent a post that simply said, at some point people are going to realize before trying trickery against Indiana that they know what you're doing better than you do. And I meant that as a true testament to the maturity, the discipline, and the coaching and preparation that Curt Cignetti brings to his Indiana program. But they have been so efficient, both defensively notably, but also offensively, but defensively. Indiana has been so efficient that what started out as just a little chirp on social media, and I don't even know if you saw this, Derek, then kind of grew to actually a couple of reporters saying, is it possible that Indiana, in terms of their coaching staff, hacked into a cloud program of other college football programs to be able to see their video preparation, and in addition to that, the headsets that allows them to hear the plays that are being called? Because Indiana, now, I think that's preposterous, but at the same time, it is a testament to Indiana's preparation because it does kind of look that way, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah, and a lot of these folks that are talking about this are coincidentally geographically located in South Florida, if you've noticed,
Right.
or Columbus, Ohio, and that sort of metro area. But yeah, it's funny to me how the goalposts have moved from Indiana hasn't played anybody to Indiana hasn't beaten anybody to Indiana's older than everybody else, which we also found out was not true, at least when you go through the entire roster, right? To Indiana is cheating. And it's like, it is pretty funny that we're in a world now where all of the other excuses have kind of run out because Indiana's proven all these other things wrong.
Right.
And now we're just to the most outlandish stuff that,
Derek,
that is possible.
I do think this. I think one of the things that's going to be interesting to watch about this run for Indiana, and everything in college football is kind of cyclical, and it takes like a 3-year return up front, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I mentioned this yesterday on the radio. I was a senior in high school. I'm the same class, academically speaking, as the Fab Five. We were freshmen the same year. And, you know, Juwan Howard, Jalen Rose, can you name all 5 of them?
Yeah, Jimmy King, Ray Jackson, Chris Webber.
Yeah, Jimmy King, Ray Jackson being the 2 that people would forget. But nonetheless, the Fab Five was unique because, yes, the black socks and the baggy shorts. But it was unusual at that time to have a freshman starter. Okay, fine. Grant Hill did it the year before. But to have 5 of them was totally unique. And so that kind of all of a sudden became the springboard of the recruiting services and 5-star recruits and all of that. And the same holds true in football. Now, we've seen for years, Derek, the Under Armour or the U.S. Army All-American game where players are, deciding where they're going and they're getting out the cap and they're putting it on, and seniors in high school and the coaches and the schools all around. Is this going to be, albeit temporarily, but is this going to be kind of a watershed moment in terms of the blueprint of the way teams are built? Because Indiana has built this roster not on the cap dance 5-star recruits, but rather predominantly on veteran players and transfer portal players. Granted, he brought a lot from James Madison with him, but they've accentuated that by getting guys that are transfers from other programs. And Curt Cignetti has said he wants production over potential. Yes, you're still going to get high school players, but they are using so many veteran players. Are teams now going to replicate that and get away from loading up their roster with 5-stars?
Yeah, I do think that there's something to the production over potential, even though the 5-star, super twitchy, super athletes are always going to be coveted, right? Those guys are always going to get recruited even by Indiana. I mean, Indiana's now going to be in play for those group of players, whereas they've never really been in play for those group of players. But, the whole question, and I'm not trying to poo-poo it, the whole question, can what Curt Cignetti did at Indiana be replicated? The answer is no. The answer is no. You can't find another coach in America that is going to take with him all of these guys, Surratt and Fisher, all these guys from a program like JMU, and have them not only become all conference level, Power 4 level players, but NFL level players. That is not replicable. That is not repeatable by anybody.
Well,
and that's the core of what Indiana built. Now, all of the other stuff, you're right. You can sprinkle in, Mendoza and all this other stuff. It isn't just JMU guys. But honestly, Jake, the foundation of the house that Curt Cignetti built was an unrepeatable taking of talent from JMU, from his other program, and implementing them in Indiana and having every single one of those guys hit.
Here's what he did. What he did was he came into Indiana that had and I mean this is no disrespect to the players that have played at Indiana, right? But he came into Indiana that had an entire foundation and history of losing, okay? And the first thing he did is he looked around and he was like, you've got to be kidding me. Everyone here just expects to lose.
Yeah.
And so he came in with this bravado, and he's now admitted, I mean, he came in with this over-compensatory bravado because he had to, right, to sell people on what Indiana could be. But the first thing that he had to do, which was brilliant, was bring guys with him from JMU. You know, I talked yesterday to somebody that played for Bob Knight, and they said, when I got to Indiana, the guys that were there before me had to say to me, like, listen, here's how it's going to be. Here's the way things operate. Here's how things work. What he did masterfully was bring those players from JMU that could then say to the existing Indiana players, here's how it's going to work.
Yeah.
Here's what's going to happen, and follow the lead of what he's doing, because there is a method to the madness here. It is going to work. And then those players have been remarkable, to your point. But it is almost unrepeatable because it would be nearly impossible to find a program with a greater history of losing than Indiana. They came into this season with more losses than anybody in Division I football. Northwestern has surpassed them because Indiana has yet to lose. But in addition to that, Derek, you probably saw me mention this. Indiana, if they win, goes 16-0, right? They would need to do that for 11 consecutive seasons moving forward, and then go 7-0 in year 12, and they're back to 500.
Yeah, that's how big of a hole.
That
right?
tells you how big a deficit it has been for Indiana. It is truly unbelievable what they've done. Now, how long can they stay there? I don't know. How long can they maintain it? I don't know. I don't care. What I know is this, and it is, admittedly, when I would go to Clemson games and I'd come back and I'd watch IU, I'm like, this is not even in the same category. So it is surreal to me to think that Indiana has surpassed that.
Yeah, I mean, they were a MAC school basically when I was in school there.
They were going 5 overtimes against Akron.
Yeah, and that's – I have seen some of this, and I don't mean to be mean, but I do think that there's some revisionist history with the Tom Allen era. Well, he didn't have the buy-in of the administration. It's embarrassing. The last 3 years for Tom Allen, particularly the last 2 years, were at an embarrassing level of football. Indiana still had assets and resources, okay?
Right.
They didn't just wake up one day with Kurt Signetti and be like, okay, we're in. And good for Allen and his staff, and they showed what Indiana could be with it. The 19 team was a very good team. The 20 team was a dream season at that time, right? The COVID year with Michael Penix and the whole deal. But I'm not waxing poetic about the Tom Allen era. I think it was well below the bar of even reasonable expectations for what Indiana could have been. But that said, you're right. Like, what is this going to look like here moving forward? It's going to be sustainable. I mean, I think Indiana is a new blood, right?
I would agree.
I kind of laughed at that term when I first saw it, but it's a new blood. By the way, how are you feeling if you're Oregon right now? Oregon has been on the map, right? Kind of like Indiana. They came out of nowhere, but they've been on the map for the better part of the last 30 years, and they still haven't won a championship. And now Indiana in year 2 is going to do it? Wouldn't you be pretty salty
well,
if you were an Oregon fan?
You know, and let me say this, Derek, and I can't speak for all, and there might be those listening right now that went down to Atlanta that would say differently. But everything I heard and read from the people that went down there or just experienced it was that Oregon, even though there were not a lot of people there, that the Oregon fans were really cool, that they were sportsmanlike. I mean, I don't know if you saw, like, one of the Oregon staffers kept the foot.
Yeah, how cool is that? Yeah,
returned
really
the
nice
football
thing.
that D'Angelo Pons had
blown out.
Yeah, I mean, hey, here's the football that you returned for a touchdown. Thought you'd like to have it. I mean, that kind of stuff was cool. I thought Dan Lanning and Kurt Signetti were respectful of one another,
really
leading up to
Dan
the
Lanning.
week. Yeah.
I mean, I was just on that campus last year, Jake, and I called them and I was like, hey, I'm from Indiana, but I always thought Oregon was really cool. Is there any chance somebody could, like, do you guys do tours of Autzen? And they're like, yeah, just come by the office and we'll send somebody down with you and they'll take you all around. And they sent some grad student with me, and she took me down on the field at Autzen. We went into their athletic trophy room and the Marcus Mariota. It was amazing. And everybody there could not have been nicer.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah. And what a cool place, too. Like, I can't do the time difference, but anytime I'm on the West Coast, I'm like, why would you ever leave? There's just something, the mountains and beaches.
I know.
It's so awesome.
But then again,
to do.
when you're there, you say to yourself, but there's got to be another place to live. And you're like, well, why not Indiana? Trademarked, by the way.
Why not Indiana? So much beautiful things to see.
That's right
Here in Indiana. We come back on the show, our Hoagie
Chicago
Hero of
Bears
the
are
week.
saying it right now. Why not Indiana?
We'll talk about the Colts and their biggest offseason question marks. Rick Carlisle finally getting a milestone, and we'll do our usual college hoops roundup as well. Just getting started here on episode 269. It's Query and Schultz presented by Bailey Wood Financial Group here on the ISC Sports Network.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Hey, AC.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Welcome back, Query and Schultz.
Now, hold on, Derek.
Chili Water Brewing, Hoagies and Hops Tap Room, 42nd Boulevard. Hi, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
I've just been told that Indiana, Pennsylvania is the Christmas tree capital of the world, right?
I mean, these
Now-
little towns call themselves things all the time. Right?
But I want to know if these two things are related to one another. Jordan just mentioned that there is also a celebrity who is native to Indiana, Pennsylvania. And if I heard him correctly, and I've got headsets on, so I might not. So if they can put either on the graphic or tell me in my ear, what celebrity was that was mentioned as the native of Indiana,
I heard it.
Pennsylvania?
Jimmy Stewart?
Okay. What's Jimmy Stewart's arguably most famous movie?
It's a Wonderful Life.
And
right?
that movie is symbolic and
It's a
seen
Christmas.
every year with what season?
Iconic Christmas movie.
So is there is the Christmas tree capital of the world because Jimmy Stewart's from there and he did It's a Wonderful Life, or did Jimmy Stewart get into doing Christmas movies because he grew up around Christmas trees? There has to be a connection here, right?
Don't be mad at me. I've never watched It's a Wonderful
Okay,
Life.
I'm not mad at you, and I'll tell you
Okay.
why.
I've never watched
I
it.
love
Obviously, I know of it.
I love everything about Christmas,
never
right?
watched
I
it.
love the season. I love the camaraderie. I love all of it. Love it. And I love Miracle on 34th Street. Great movie.
Yeah,
I love
that's a
the
great one.
I love
I
the
have seen that
old
one.
I love the old Christmas
Yeah.
movies. I had never seen It's a Wonderful Life until 2 years ago, and I'm like, I'm gonna watch it.
Charlie was ahead of the bit with the ho Hoosiers.
We sat down. You know what? Ho 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 Hoosiers is probably right now if we're talking Christmas stuff here.
God.
So we sat down last year to watch It's a Wonderful Life. Derek, it's like 3.5 hours long, and it was the slowest, most
God,
boring
yeah.
movie of all time.
Yeah.
I no disrespect.
Do you remember AMC, like movie channel?
Of course,
back
yeah.
in the day.
It's still around.
My mom and I love my mom. I'm not sure. My dad watches. I don't think my mom's watching this show. Love my mom. That's all she watched. So all the time on like rainy Saturdays when you're like 13 years old and you're like sitting around, my mom's got the TV on lockdown and she's watching some black and white movie that is 3.5 to 4 hours long
Yeah.
and the slowest thing that you've ever seen in your life. And so I know exactly.
But I
what
like
you
how
mean
all
by
those
that.
movies ended. At the end of it, though, they would like somebody would just say like the closing line, and then it would go dun dun dun
Yeah.
dun, like music would come on.
Strike
and
up the band.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of times it would involve tap dancing. I feel like there was a lot of like tap dancing involved in those movies. I don't know. Maybe that was just the genre that my mom liked, but yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
By the way, if you're gonna watch It's a Wonderful Life, make sure that you are accompanied by something like the Mama Tried, for example.
Yeah.
Or
speaking
get
of moms,
yourself
shout out
some.
moms.
That's right, some chili water brewing. Right. This is the dark Mexican lager. It is. Telling you,
Oh, it's good.
this time of year, it's perfect.
All
right?
seasons beer. All seasons beer. Because it's light enough to be enjoyed in the summer months. It's not like a heavy like stout or something,
that's
right? It's a
good.
lager. It's not
No,
like
it's
a
outstanding.
super heavy winter beer. But also because there's something about it being a dark lager that makes it fit for like December and January too. Whereas sometimes
The can
just
is
a regular
awesome.
lager. I mean, I guess a lager in general is a pretty flexible beer when it comes to the season, but I really like
The
this
Chili
one
Water,
all
two
year long.
locations, 42nd and Boulevard. Perfect place to come in, get yourself a beer, go right next door to Hoagies
That's
and Hops, get a sandwich, watch games. They got it all going on here. Great place to watch the playoffs. And, of course, Fountain Square as well for Chili Water and the Mama Tried, which is fab. All of their beers are great, but it is a good one, the dark Mexican lager. Speaking of the NFL playoffs, Derek, I don't want to say this loud with Christina, and
Yeah.
we know the Philly connection
Yeah, poor
with
Eagles.
Hoagies and Hops. But the Eagles, I did think Philly was going to be someone to reckon with in the NFC. I feel like
Never clicked with them this year.
there's a very clear emergence on what the Super Bowl matchup's going to be.
Okay.
I think it's coming very clearly in division. at least on one side of the bracket.
It'd be funny if we talked about how wide open everything was, and then it's just Josh Allen and the Bills, right?
You know, and it.
Even though I still think Houston, man,
That defense is awfully good.
Houston is going to be really hard to beat.
No, that defense is great.
Yeah,
for Houston.
I think they're going to be really hard to beat.
I feel like San Francisco is on a mission here. Christian McCaffrey, I know that his yard per carry was not great, but to go into Philly and do that, and they go into Seattle, where Seattle just had to beat San Francisco to win the division. You feel like that's going to now flip back.
And you never want to see a division opponent. If you're a team with home field, you never want somebody from your because they're totally comfortable going to Seattle. They're not scared, right?
I know.
I
like Seattle. Seattle's open disclaimer. I'm pulling for Seattle. I mean, that's who I want to see win it. But I'm very worried.
The
about
Niners are a great story, and I understand that they have not technically won the Super Bowl, right? Where you got to go back to the Steve Young year, don't you? In '94 for the last time they won, but they've been there multiple times. It's just a winning organization, and I wrote this on X Twitter, and I got some clapback from it because there are some fans here in Indianapolis that will just excuse everything that the Colts do, just in perpetuity. Oh, they had this injury, they had this, they had that, wah, wah, wah. The Niners are a great example of an organization that thrives even when circumstances aren't ideal and perfect. They lost their two best defensive players, right? All these injuries. They lost Purdy for half the season.
They lost their tight ends.
Kittle. And yet they've still rallied together and been able to have a very successful year where they've won 12 games, they've won a playoff game, and they're going to have a chance to go. They've got a chance to win the whole thing. And that's what the Colts need to strive to be. There was a time where the Colts used to face adversity and overcome it. And this is just a franchise that every time adversity even creeps into the picture, they completely and totally crumble. That's what they do every time. And you can hand out the excuses, you can hand out injuries and all that. Look at what the Niners dealt with this year and look at the success that they've had. And that's what the Colts need to strive towards. They need to strive towards overcoming things as opposed to getting in the fetal position whenever bad things happen. Because bad things happen to NFL teams. Injuries, bad luck, all that stuff happens to everybody, not just here in Indy.
I think when you look at these playoffs right now, they are not that you need to look hard for this, but there are repeated stories throughout the playoffs that are somewhat an indictment on Chris Ballard. And the things where Chris Ballard has erred. I'm not sitting here trying to kick a guy while he's down. But the reality is that many of the teams that are remaining in the NFL playoffs are facing some sort of an adversity that had been labeled as or tabbed as or pointed towards as an explanation or excuse for the Colts' shortcomings. And other teams find a way to overcome it. Other teams find a way to dig down and go next man up. Colts talk next man up. Other teams execute it. San Francisco executes it. The Rams had belief in Matthew Stafford when allegedly or reportedly Chris Ballard did not want to trade for him when he was on the block in Detroit and instead went with Carson Wentz. The Patriots, instead of just kicking the can, looking forward to their next franchise quarterback, they finally just said, we're just going to rip the Band-Aid and go with Drake May, who has now turned out to be, and I think will be, a long-standing, very, very good player in the NFL. So, there are cases of it throughout the league where you look at other franchises and you think, these guys are serious, and then you look at the Colts and you go, these guys are just kind of, I'm not saying terrible, but they're just in that middle vat that's very tough to get out of.
Yeah, I just think that there are a lot of teams that have this mentality and this culture of rallying together and not accepting, all these corny and cheeseball things that we talk about, like not accepting defeat and not going into the night quietly and all that. But there is something to that. And, this core group, and I'm not just going to throw it on Ballard. I mean, this core group, Nelson, Franklin, Pittman Jr., Taylor, all these guys, every time that the chips have been down, they've lost. Pretty much every time the chips have been down, certainly in the 2020s, they've lost. And a lot of times they've lost big and they've crumbled. And you can't have that as an NFL franchise. You need to usher back in that other sort of mentality. I don't know how they do that outside of changing up some of these core pieces, which maybe that gets into our next talking point, something that the Colts need to do this offseason. And if they're going to do that, kind of like what happened with free agency last year, where Chris Ballard was more aggressive in that, I think he's going to have to be dragged kicking and screaming, because I do not think it's going to be easy for Chris Ballard to release Michael Pittman Jr. or release Zaire Franklin or release Kenny Moore. But I think, and I'm not saying all three of those guys are going to get cut, but you need to have that conversation.
Right.
You got to have that conversation.
I think Pittman in particular, right? When you look at the tag,
there is no way you bring him back and give him with a $29 million cap number. No way. So if he is back, it would have to be a significant restructure on his deal. But is Kenny Moore a fit? Look, the cupboard is bare at linebacker, but Zaire Franklin, not that there are any really great coverage linebackers. Coverage is tough for any linebacker, but he's so far and away one of the worst in the league in coverage, and was so bad this year that I think you have to think about moving on there too.
By the way, and I know we've done shows since then, Derek, but we have not mentioned, and that you and I were once again fortunate enough, honored enough to be invited to a fabulous holiday party, and you spilled a drink on the stair banister, which was a bit embarrassing.
That's not true.
No, that's true. I was standing right there.
You know that wasn't me, though, right?
Nah, I don't know about that.
Buddy,
you were awfully close to it. You were standing right there.
What ended up happening, and it was almost like it just kept happening, and no one stepped in to stop it. We're down at the bottom of the staircase, so we're at
a very nice party.
Yeah, holiday party, and they have this whole finished basement, this large space,
Beautiful.
and they have a essentially like a little bit of a platform and a stage for a band. So they've got like a 4-piece band up there, and everybody's gathered around, but there's not enough seats for everybody, right? So Jake, Shannon, myself, Ashley, weren't the Metlers there? There were some other people that were there. It's some other of our friends from the old radio days. We're kind of gathered in the staircase, and they have this big, like, nice, beautiful wooden mahogany, like, banister thing. Gorgeous. I was afraid to even touch it. Just everything in there I was afraid to touch. And it has this, on the landing on the bottom, the banister has this big circle, probably maybe not as big as this table, but large. And, this was nearing, 11:30 and open bar and all of that, right? And people were getting pretty sauced up. People kept leaving their drink right on the banister. Yeah. So what's the first thing when you're a little bit buzzed or whatever else and you're getting up a staircase? What's the first thing that you reach for? Right? You reach for the handrail and the banister. So people kept reaching for the banister, and there would always be a drink right here, usually a mixed drink, and it would just go toppling over, right? And they had a great staff. Yeah. They had a catering staff. They're lovely people, super nice, and they kept coming with the towels or whatever else. This must have happened 3 separate times.
And it happened every single time when Derek was standing right there. I'm like, can you stop knocking drinks over, please?
This happened every
time. Trying to stand innocently in the corner, hoping to get invited again next year.
And what sucks,
because the invite list gets whittled down over here. And Derek is just over there just knocking drinks over.
What sucks is everybody's looking this way at the stage, right? And this is all behind. So people don't see that somebody is reaching for the banister to go up to the bathroom and knocking it over. They just turn around at the sound. And when they turn around at the sound, it's me standing there like it's the staircase like this.
Derek just kept knocking drinks over. Everybody's like, who's the little guy?
Who is this guy?
Like what? Who invited Tattoo, and why is he dropping stuff everywhere? Yeah.
Well, it didn't help that Jake's yelling, "What'd you do?"
Yeah.
So that's our holiday. I don't think we did touch on that on last week's show, but yeah,
it was a wonderful time, and it was great to again see all of our former colleagues, and it was fun.
Yeah, it's great to reconnect. We have, even though the ending, it will always be something that sticks out, and it was not a happy time in either of our lives. The good memories at that building far outweigh the bad ones. Sure. I mean, we spent 10 years there just about, and with the Bob and Tom crew and with the Q95 crew
and Derek,
and everybody else.
We can't feel bad about the people that were there when we were laid off from our previous radio job, because all of them were laid off after
they all got fired too. Yeah. I mean, literally everyone except Gunner. Shout out Gunner if he's watching. Everyone got canned over there. Yeah. So that's just that's life. That's life in corporate radio. That's just what happens. I think we're going to talk about other Colts' big offseason question marks. I mean, this is going to be kind of an ongoing.
The Daniel Jones Achilles is the big one. I was talking to somebody again last night about it, and I think it's really rushing the timeline to think that he's going to be up and ready to go in week 1. But
I think he could be medically cleared week 1. There's a difference between medically cleared and are
NFL
you
ready?
Yourself? Right. Are you your usual self? And that's a risky bet for the Colts to make. The Colts are talking like It is a done deal. Daniel Jones is going to be back, and he's their guy. And everyone seems to be on board with that because of the first 8-10 weeks of the season. But not only recapturing that, but recapturing that after a blown Achilles, I just don't think that it is a given. I mean, could Daniel Jones get back to that level with Shane Steichen? Did they unlock it? Sure, absolutely. But is that a bet that I would be willing to make coming off an Achilles? The answer is no. But the Colts don't have any other options, Jake.
Derek, I like the guy, Daniel Jones.
Yeah, so do I.
I think he's a decent dude. I don't know him
I think he's a huge dork, but in a good way.
Yeah, but I think he's a very likable quarterback, and I think he's a very serviceable quarterback. Now, the reality is the level that he was playing pre-injury and pre-Pittsburgh until he started getting blitzed all the time, he was playing at an exceptionally high level. Now, is that the Water probably is going to find that level, and had he stayed healthy and not had the injuries, I think we would have found out that he is a solid Sam Darnold, Kirk Cousins level player, right? The guys that he shared a quarterback room with in Minnesota. But if you have pieces around him, I think he's going to, they can be very, very competitive. The question is, that's assuming he comes back at 100%. Just a lot of question marks there.
Yeah.
And then what do you do with Anthony Richardson is another big question mark.
I think they've already decided what to do.
How do you manage it? How do you navigate it?
Yeah, navigating it is different, but that's one take that I'm proud of. Jake, you say this sometimes, and you're right, because Jake's brain is the only brain that works like Jake's brain does. But I think you've said on the show before, like, sometimes I see something and I think to myself, this is so obvious. Why is it not obvious to everybody else?
Right.
That's exactly how I feel with the Richardson situation. I mean, I understand that the eye injury gave them a comfortable out. I don't think he was taking a snap regardless. I really don't. I think they were going to bring in Phillip Rivers regardless.
I agree with you. The eye injury gives them the out now, right?
Yeah. And they're still talking about the eye injury, but that gives them an out for like September of 2026, which sounds crazy to me, but it's over. And that's okay. That's okay that they've decided that they're out. And I understand that they don't want to nuke his trade value and say publicly that they're out. But everything that they've said or not said or done indicates that they're out. And a lot of fans still think, well, they still have him on a rookie contract. Like, what? Guys, they're out. They're out. It doesn't matter what his contract is. They don't think he's any good. They don't think he's ever going to be the player that they want him to be. So that's why they're going to be moving on.
The last thing I would say, and I don't mean this to pile on to Chris Ballard, I don't, but as we continue to sift through kind of the aftermath haze of the season, the reality is that if people ask me, why are you so hard on Ballard, or is it unfair to call for a guy's job? I'm never asking for someone to lose their livelihood. Chris Ballard would be fine. He would find another gig, but his words, not mine. But the reality is, Derek, there are a lot of general managers or director of player personnel that get one spin of the wheel of selecting the franchise quarterback when the opportunity presents itself with the top 5 pick, and he swung and missed.
Yeah, we're almost not even talking about that.
And he has said, if he'd had the number one, people could say like, well, but Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud were off the board. It was he, not me, who said we would have taken Richardson number 1 overall.
Yeah.
Now, he might have just been saying that to pump him up. I don't know.
He still said it.
If that is reality, and that's the guy that he determined was the best option in that draft, then you have to really make questions.
Yeah, and it's almost like, just like everything else that has happened during the Chris Ballard era, people have just allowed him to skate on everything. And to skate on drafting and missing on quarterback going into year 7. Year 7. And you drafted a quarterback. After that mulligan, I mentioned the mulligan that they got for the 2022 season. He got okay, my bad, let me try this again. And they did that. Here we are 3 years later with a busted quarterback and a team that has gone 25-26. And that's what I can't get past. I don't care what happened the first 2 weeks of the season. Busted quarterback, 25-26 record.
Yeah, fair.
Not good enough. We come back on the show, Quick Hits and our Hoops Roundup. Quick Hits is going to include a shout-out to one of our most dedicated watchers/listeners.
And our Jags report, by the way. IU Indy Jags report, including your chance to see not just basketball, but other sports Division I level. And if you want to know about the local tie-in for IU Indy when it comes to their athletes, a couple of them will be featured this week.
Don't knock over any drinks here.
Yeah.
It's Corey and Schultz.
Watch your little hands.
Presented by Bailey & Wood Financial Group here on the ISC Sports Network.
at Bailey and Wood.
Welcome back to Query and Schultz. My name is Jake Query. Derek Schultz just jumped right back in after he probably just
You
spilled
could have
another
said
drink
nothing.
on the stair mat.
You could have said nothing. No one would have known. We were fading in our graphic. It's perfect timing. You could have said nothing.
Okay, fine, I'll just.
No one would have
you
known.
Take over.
No, I'm just saying, no one would have known that I was jumping. Here's Derek jumping back in. Look at it. No one would have known.
Did you get some chips there?
Yeah, I did. We're about to have Chef Donnie's making us a pit twist. That's the Greg Rakestraw go-to. Greg Rakestraw's favorite sando.
Okay.
Hers chips from PA, right near Indiana.
The Christmas tree capital of the world. These taste like pine, right?
God, this show. Sometimes we're intentionally stupid on this show. Sometimes like stupid stuff just pops up during the show, and then the show gets stupid.
Stupid is as stupid does, Derek.
Let's get very quickly to our college hoops roundup, but we could just do a hoops roundup in general. How about the Pacers? 3 straight wins. They knock off the Celtics last night. We're taping this right now on Tuesday morning, and Pascal Siakam with the game winner. I know you were at the game last night, and look, it's I don't need to say this. It's a tough season, right? So you take the positives as you can. I do like to occasionally see the Pacers win. Now, do I want them to rip off like 10 wins in 15 games? No, I don't want that to happen. But overall, it is nice to have some light in the darkness. That is
here's what has been encouraging to me. The Pacers are having an abysmal season. You got no Halliburton, you got no Obi Toppin, Neesmith out for a long time, Nembhard was out for a long time, McConnell's been in and out. They've had a miserable season. Ben Matherin, is just withering away the opportunities to take a step forward. Jarris Walker, my buddy Ron Epple from Chicago Pizza yesterday said such a great thing to me. He goes, when is the fog going to lift off Jarris Walker? I'm like, it's a perfect way of saying it, right? But with all of that, I go to the games, and I'm very fortunate to be able to go to them, but it feels the same. There's still juice in the building. There's still a vibrant crowd. And the crowds have been big. I mean, they've been
they've maintained their crowd. It's not
and
like
I
no
think
one's
it's
there.
because people have realized there is a reason why they're playing so. You know what I mean? Like, and
Gamebridge rules.
And they have gone out and utilized this time. Now, whether this is intentional or just a byproduct of being down, it's given them opportunity to kind of try out different guys. And I never know whether or not some of these guys are permanent stays or just. You can look back later and go, yeah, they just needed somebody. Quentin Jackson, they needed somebody to go out there and give him 29 points. Although I think he plays well, to be honest with you. But the latest go-round that they've done at the center position, I think they might have found somebody that's going to make the roster here, right? In Micah Potter, right?
Well, yeah, make the roster, sure. Fill out some depth, sure, but they need a starting center.
No,
they don't have a starting center.
No question. Yeah. Now, here's the thing. I'm telling you right now, this is so obvious to me, I can't believe it's not obvious to everybody else.
Okay.
The Pacers are going to trade Benedict Mathurin at the trade deadline. And they're going to trade Benedict Mathurin for a center. And I'm just going to throw names out there in the ilk of Zubac or Mark Williams or that kind of a player, a starting center. A guy that can stretch a little bit, that it's athletic, that can play somewhat the style that Miles Turner played. Then, so now you go, okay, well, you have a potentially 20-point-per-game scorer off your bench that you've gotten rid of. You have a top 4 pick. You select the wing that now becomes Benedict Mathurin's replacement in both minutes and contribution. And you're doing it on a rookie pay scale. Jarris Walker becomes a curveball. Maybe you keep he and Furphy to rotate through. But Jay Huff,
throw him into a deal.
Jay Huff now looks like a legitimate backup center. If Jay Huff can give you 15 to 20 quality minutes a night, block some shots, hit a couple of threes, have a couple of stylish dunks. Is he a starting center? No, but he's a nice complementary piece.
Yeah.
You do that, you get everybody back, and you try to get them healthy, and you push your chips.
I'm bummed because I really like Mathurin. I do.
I have nothing against Ben Mathurin.
And I think that there is potential there. I think he's going to be a really good NBA player for a long time, but he is your best chance to improve the roster in the now. By trading him. That's the best path forward for the Pacers. I agree with you.
I think I've said this before about Ben Mathurin, okay? Do you like rum?
Not really.
Okay, but
I don't dislike rum.
Do you like a pina colada?
When in Rome, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rum is a fine beverage. People like rum, right? Nobody has anything against rum. Nobody has anything against pina coladas. Ben Mathurin is rum. It's a really nice ingredient for a really nice drink. But the Pacers are a Manhattan. They require different ingredients. Everybody likes a Manhattan or an old fashioned, but that takes bourbon, not rum.
I like bourbon more.
Matherin is a style. Matherin's style, the isolation, get to the basket, nose down. There are places for that. But by and large, when they're playing their style and their system they want to run, Matherin is the one ingredient that just, while an individually nice ingredient, doesn't mix well with the rest.
I'm glad you didn't say vodka. Vodka's the one that I had a bad experience with vodka when I was 16, and I still just can't do vodka.
You shouldn't have had that experience till you were 21.
Well, I was a busboy at a hoity-toity restaurant, and one of the other busboys, Bobby Jones, told me, hey, we used to have to stock the liquor room, which you shouldn't be able to do when you were 16, right? I mean, you should be 21. But anyway, it was the 90s, whatever, you did that. And he was like, hey, if you take out when you're stocking the room, just on the dumpster run, just throw a bottle in one of the trash cans and then pull your car around when you leave at the end of the night where we smoke cigarettes by the dumpster and grab it. So I was like, all right. So I did that. And then I hid it in my
What's
toy
the
box.
First letter of the brand
That's
of
cool.
vodka?
It was Smirnoff because it was the nice stuff. It was not they didn't have dark eyes at this nice, at this nice establishment or whatever.
So
I mean, not that Smirnoff is like super top shelf, but it's,
so
reasonable.
what was your bad experience?
Well, I drank it. My bad experience was I was making screwdrivers because I was like, I heard that like you mix it with orange juice or whatever. Like the internet was still very new at this time, so you couldn't really do a lot of research on things like this. And my cousins came by. It was Christmas Eve, and they were crashing. We were down in the basement, and my cousin Joe he would have been 21 at that point, and then my cousin Billy was a little bit younger than me. And we were crashing in the basement, whatever. We had a 6-disc CD changer, and we're playing, PlayStation or whatever else. And I'm drinking screwdrivers. And then Christmas morning, man, I was just out.
Okay.
I was just out, like in a bad way. Okay. Yeah.
By the way, on that very smooth transition, I'd like to bring you the IU Indy Jags report, if I may. IU
Hopefully
Indy,
my
when
dad's
we
not
talk
still
about the
watching.
Jags report.
I don't know if he knows about that or not.
Your dad knows you.
My dad has forgiven me for the sins of the past. I will say that.
Derek, here's the thing, okay? You know what you and your dad can do? Get together, take James as well. This Sunday at the West Indy Racket Club at 7 o'clock, free admission to see Division I tennis. Tennis is a great sport to watch at a high level of play, and you're going to see Eastern Kentucky and IU Indy, the first spring event. That's right, we're nearly halfway through January, but spring sports already in swing, pardon the pun, for IU Indy, and it begins with men's tennis taking place at the West Indy Racket Club this Sunday, 7 o'clock against Eastern Kentucky, and free admission to come out and watch Division I athletics. Of course, you're probably saying to yourself, Jake, it's January. That means still basketball season. I understand. What about women's basketball? Big win over the weekend. They beat Wright State, this past Sunday. Olivia Smith had 16 points. Ariana Williams had a double-double, 10 and 10 for the Jags. They are on the road taking on Robert Morris and Youngstown State. That's the Penguins maybe coming up this week. But next week, homecoming, Wednesday the 21st at home for IU Indy. And, the jungle is awesome right there next to the natatorium. And speaking of the natatorium, while we continue to watch the women's shooting it, and we'll get you to the men's stuff in just a second, at the natatorium, weekend sweep against Youngstown State on the road, actually. But the IU Indy swimming and diving program is back for the 23rd. The 23rd of January. They're on the road January 23rd at Ball State, but back home on the 31st. So in the month of January at the natatorium, world-class facility, watching awesome college swimming and diving, the 31st at the natatorium for IU Indy. Now, as for the men's basketball side of things, continuing to kind of get things going here and figure things out at Green Bay, Jackson Edwards of Cathedral, 18-6 in a tough loss against Doug Gottlieb's crew, but against Milwaukee while continuing the two-step up in the state of Wisconsin. Kyler DiAgostino had 24. McGuire Mitchell of Zionsville. See, I told you, local products. Zionsville's McGuire Mitchell had 19-6, but again, falling on the short end against Green Bay. Jags are back, taking on Robert Morris Thursday at 6:30 in the Jungle. Thursday, 6:30 in the Jungle, you not only can get to see Division I players, seeing players like from Zionsville, Cathedral, of course, Albany, Ohio is the home of DiAgostino, but local regional players as well. Urban League canned foods. If you bring a canned food for the Urban League canned food drive, you're going to get free admission on Thursday against Robert Morris, 6:30 in the Jungle. And if you can't make it on Thursday, no worries. We're going to turn back the clock. We're going to turn back that clock Saturday at 2 o'clock as IUND will be wearing the old Metros uniforms. Back in the days when I was on the campus there, it is Throwback Metros Day, Saturday, 2 o'clock against Detroit Mercy, all in the Jungle for IUND. Again, I love IUND because very affordable, very easy and accessible, and in addition to that, chance for kids to come out and see Division I athletics. Find all your ticket information, iundjags.com/tickets. That's iundjags.com/tickets. And don't forget at the men's basketball game, you can also get your chance coming up on Thursday for a Taylor's cookie. You ever had the Taylor's Bakery cookies? I mean, I love the orange fluff cake they make, but the cookies are also absolutely fabulous. That is your IUND Jags report.
Let's go, Hoagie and Hero of the Week. Thanks to our friends at IUND. Thanks to our friends here at Hoagies and Hops. Chef Donnie whipped this one up. It's a Pitt twist.
There's slaw in here, Derek.
Hoagie of the Week. Really, really good. So we have some slaw. We've got some.
Can you give me a tray
Pro.
here?
Yeah, just use the tray that's up there.
But
We got some
grab your little
delicious ham. Got some mayo, and you got some chips, just like the sandwiches that you had as a kid. Delicious. Look at that, Jordan. Oh, Jordan was just zooming in, Jake, and he lifted it up.
Sorry.
God. You got to watch our monitor feed. This is our live feed right here. Yeah. It's hard. TV is hard for some people that aren't used to being on TV. Difficult. Our Hero of the Week. I think we could have gone in a couple of different directions here. I almost went Rick Carlisle because he got his 1,000th win. But here, why don't you take this? Want to take the thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here we go.
Got his 1,000th win. But
1,000th, Derek, not 1,000th. 1,000.
1,000th win.
1,000.
I actually went Caleb Williams.
Really? Okay.
I watched the Bears game with a guy that's become like a really good buddy of mine. Shout out to Adam.
Yeah.
And he is
Adam,
like,
I want to thank you for taking the heat off.
We caught the fish together. So he was on the fishing trip with the Mahi, the Great Gringo fishing crew. He's a mentally unstable Bears fan, as all Bears fans are. There's just something there has to be something wrong with you to put up with what you have to put up with to be a Bears fan. Like mentally, there has to be something that's just not, a wire that's loose, because Bears fans have been through a lot. We all know the history of Bears quarterbacks. And it's not like he lit the world on fire against the Packers. In fact, Caleb Williams had a very much an up-and-down game at Soldier Field on Saturday. But he made winning plays when it mattered. And I do think that he has settled into that role nicely. The Bears don't need Caleb Williams to be Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. They just need him to be a better version of Jay Cutler. Because if you're that, then you're automatically the best quarterback in Bears history. It's a very low bar. And look, it's a neat story. I don't know how the Bears are doing this. They remind me a little bit of that 2001 team that had Jim Miller at quarterback. Remember, they won a game on a Hail Mary, and they've had a lot of things just kind of go their way. But for a franchise that has had a lot of things not go their way in their history, I think it's a great story. And the Bears, to me, Jake, you tell me if you agree with this. The Bears, to me, and I'm a little biased here, I think they're kind of like the Knicks of the NFL. They're just a fun story when the Bears are good, just like when the Knicks are good, because it's kind of the one team in that town that everybody rallies around.
That's fair.
That's how I've always felt about them.
And they typically suck.
They typically suck. That's a good point. Yeah, but yeah, that's where I'm at. Good for Caleb Williams.
Here's my only thing for the Bears, and they've been remarkably entertaining to watch. Caleb Williams is a very likable guy. The only thing I would say about the Bears is when you are one of those cardiac teams, unless you're NC State of 83, eventually midnight strikes, right? Eventually it does you in. And they just keep finding ways, don't get me wrong. And I think they might beat the Rams. I saw my buddy Andre Murray yesterday, who's a diehard Rams fan, and he was like, man, I've already got PTSD from the 85 NFC Championship game. And I'm like, yeah, the cold weather, it's going to be freezing. I thought I saw that it's going to be like 10 degrees or something on Sunday in Chicago, or Saturday whenever they're playing that game. So it'll be fun to watch.
Man, Bears-Rams, that would have been like Dickerson, right?
Dickerson in 85. It was his second year, and they went in, and it was against the historic 85 Bears who shut him out.
Who was the quarterback?
Otis Wilson had a return to a touchdown. I think it was Everett, wasn't it? Jim Everett?
Was it? Okay.
Pretty sure.
Yeah. Wow.
24-0, if my memory serves me correct.
There were a couple of teams from that era, and you just kind of forget. Like,
I'm looking this up.
You forget that they were really good because they were in the mix a lot, but they didn't necessarily break through. And God, the NFC during that era with the Rams, the Bears, the Redskins, the Giants, and then later into the Cowboys, certainly the Niners.
24-0. The Bears defeated the Rams in
Wow.
'85. Aren't you giving me credit there for knowing
Wow. Yeah.
that? Box score. You ready?
That was right in your wheelhouse, though.
It was.
Right in your wheelhouse.
The box score in that game. Here we go. Hold on. Team stats. No, I need individual stats, don't I?
Okay.
Oh, Dieter Brock. Dieter Brock was your quarterback. He was a whopping 10 of 31 for 66
Let's quickly
yards.
get through our hoops roundup.
Dieter Brock, 10 of 31.
Okay.
Okay.
Purdue, 15-1, 5-0 in Big Ten play. Kind of a ho-hum week. Relatively easy home wins over Washington and Penn State. They host Iowa Wednesday. Then they do their California tour through SC and UCLA on Saturday and next Tuesday. IU blew a 16-point second-half lead to Nebraska. Man, but I watched that game, and Jake, I think it was a lot more about Nebraska than it was about IU. I just think
Dickerson
Nebraska
had
is that
17 carries for 46 yards.
Nebraska had a really big second half
Nebraska's
in that
good.
game. IU's got number 12 Michigan State tonight before hosting Iowa on Saturday. You know, the thing about IU is that I think they're better. Lamar Wilkerson's having a crazy good year. I just think that, you know, eventually you're going to have to beat somebody that matters. And IU so far, I mean, the best win is
They need a quality
Kansas
win.
State, I guess, who's not going to be an NCAA tournament team. And then I'm just so bummed about Butler. They got run out in the second half by St. John's. They've got 4 straight league losses now. They go at Xavier and Seton Hall this week, and they're right up here, up the road. I don't know how they solve it. I just don't.
It's a tough league for them. I've always felt that.
They're a
way.
better team. They are this year, but man, they're just not up to snuff. It's just not good enough. Hopefully that changes, but they could very likely go 0-2 this week, and then suddenly you're 1-6 in Big East play, and you're pretty much out of it at that point. We come back, the quickest quick hits in history, and buy it or bubbly from our friends at Chateau Kitchens as we wrap up episode 269 of Corey and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network.
Hey, AC.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Hey, AC.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
So here's our quick hits as we wrap up the show for today. Congrats to Rich Carlisle. Win number 1,000. Pacers went on a month-long losing skid, so he was sitting on 999 for a long time there. Broke through 1,000th win Thursday in Charlotte, just one of 11 coaches to accomplish the feat. I found this interesting. None of the others have any Pacers experience. So he is the first Pacers coach to get to 1,000 wins. Because I thought of, like, you know, Dr. Jack Ramsey or somebody like that.
Right.
The only one. I thought Larry Brown would be there. Yeah.
Well, he spent a lot of time in college, too.
Yeah, I guess he did. Miami's Eric Spoelstra nearing the 800-win mark, but no one else is currently close.
Spoelstra's a great coach.
Falcons interviewing John Harbaugh. Harbaugh's also had contact with the Giants, Titans, Browns, Raiders, Cardinals. I wonder if some teams are waiting around to see what the Steelers do with
Giants
Tomlin.
are supposedly his kind of where he's leaning, right?
Yeah. I wonder what the Steelers are going to do with Tomlin, because it's one of those situations to me that it appears both sides need to move on.
Yeah,
it's over. Time for both sides to move on. And shout out to our pal Gritty. Her name's not actually Gritty. It's Jennifer. She got some coverage in Outkick for getting her 4-ticket allotment to the title game and only keeping 1. So she ended up selling the other 3 tickets. Now, she sold those for slightly above face value just to recoup some costs. But, you know, if the face value of those tickets is like $350, it's going for 10 times that much, right? So 3 tickets, I mean, you're talking about at least $10,000, probably more than that for the seats that she got. And because she's got it in her Hoosier heart to let other IU fans experience it. Shout out to Jennifer. She's a big and loyal viewer of this show. Matthew got her involved with this show, and
now wait a minute,
met her in person a couple times. Great
Gritty is
huge
different.
IU fan.
Is it Gertie that was the fan of you?
Gertie was the Flyers mascot, right?
No, there was a Gertie that used to email the show.
Oh yeah, Gertrude. I don't think anybody called her Gertie.
I thought you did.
No. Well, her username on Twitter was Gertie Colts 1.
That's right.
But yeah, no, Gertrude is her full name. You got to be.
By the way,
a little more.
A shout out also to Garrison Carr. Garrison Carr has been a longtime listener of this show, and he is another one that is a dyed-in-the-wool original OG IU football
Bigger
fan.
IU football than basketball fan.
Correct.
Yes.
So shout out to Garrison.
He is living
Hope he's
life.
enjoying the ride.
He's living his best life. We shout out Garrison a lot on the show, I feel like. Time for Bide
He's
or
actually
Mobley.
going to run to Miami and get there
that's
in
right.
2 days. Yeah.
He's a runner. Brought to you by our friends at Chateau Kitchens. In-home transformations. That's what Chateau is in the business of doing, whether it be a kitchen, bathroom, basement. ChateauKitchens.com. Get your project started with Stephen Moore and his tremendous crew. They will do an amazing, amazing job, just like they've done on the inside of my house with your next home project. Statement number one, there will be more IU fans than Miami fans in the crowd on Monday night.
No, 50-50. I think it literally will be because maybe I'm naive here, but I think the ticket allotment is going to be pretty evenly split, and Miami fans had a day head start to buy them.
Yeah, and they get a lot of, they have a very small alumni base. It's a little private school, but they get a lot of local activation. Like
Totally.
the people in the area follow the team.
Totally.
Almost like it's the pro team, even though I fully understand that the Dolphins are there. But yeah, I do actually think that it'll be more like a 60-40 split. We're not going to see it like it was in Atlanta.
Right.
I mean, the funny thing to me is, Jake, how shocked people are. Like, there are this many Indiana fans? You're like, well, yeah. Like, it's a huge alumni base. And have you seen when their basketball team goes on the road, what happens? So why wouldn't that same fan base
fair.
be activated for football? If I was Mike Tomlin or John Harbaugh, I'd settle into a cushy TV gig. Buy it or Mobley.
Oh, buy it. Yeah, do it for
Why
10
would you?
years.
Why would you even? Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially Tomlin, man. Just he
Although,
seems like a cool dude. I think he'd be good
I
on
think
TV.
the TV, you got like a 3-year shelf life in TV, admittedly.
Yeah. Well, Rex Ryan's made it work.
I mean, there are a couple of them that have, but Matt Ryan's on his way out, right? Because he's now going to the front office.
He's
for Atlanta.
he's going to run the show down there with the Falcons. Good for Matt Ryan. Smart guy, sharp guy. Final statement: the Bills will represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. Buy it or Mobley.
Who do they have next?
We got Patriots, Texans, and Bills. Who's the other team that's left? Why can't I think of it?
Here's the thing. If the Texans, I think the Texans would stop the Bills. I think that defense is stout enough. Now, New England's is formidable.
Bills, Broncos. Duh. Broncos had the bye.
I'm not sold on Denver. I think Buffalo's obstacle is going to be Texas, or the Houston Texans. If the Texans are out of the way, then I'll say yes.
And they'd have to play there.
Yeah.
Because they're the 6.
Yeah.
And Houston's the 5. So that's interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna I mean, gun to my head, I do think that that's the team I would feel comfortable with the most, but I just think Houston, man. And I don't think the Steelers were the worst team in the entire playoffs.
Yeah.
But still,
Carolina's up there, but yeah.
well, yeah, fair. Okay,
But
fair.
Carolina played well, to their credit. They
Carolina
played well.
did play well. Thanks to our tremendous sponsors, Hoagies and Hops and Chili Water Brewing, 42nd and Boulevard. Our friends at IU Indy Athletics and our little buddy, the Jag, right there. And Chateau Kitchens, who bring you buy it or Mobley, ChateauKitchens.com. And, of course, our presenting sponsors, Bailey and Wood Financial Group. Thanks to our great crew, Vince, Charlie, Jordan, Rake is back there somewhere. Thanks to Chef Donnie for whipping us up to Sando. For Jake, I'm Derek. We will see you next time here on Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
At Bailey & Wood, we